Commander Sarah Chen stared through the observation deck of Harmony Station, Earth's primary diplomatic outpost in Sector 7. The swirling nebula before her would normally bring peace to her troubled mind, but not today. Her neural implant buzzed again, the third encrypted message from her source within the Galactic Confederacy's inner circle. Computer, secure channel, authorization, Chen Alpha 719. She commanded, her voice steadied despite her racing heart. The window darkened, transforming into a secure display. The message decoded before her eyes, and her worst fears were confirmed. Project Harvest, a classified Confederacy initiative to systematically strip mine inhabited worlds, using their populations as forced labor. Earth was next on their list. The Confederacy's promises of technological advancement and protection had been lies. They had been assessing Earth's resources all along. Sarah's mind raced as she processed the implications. The Confederacy's diplomatic fleet, scheduled to arrive in 3 days, wasn't coming for negotiations. It was an invasion force. Earth's defenses, while significant, had been designed to work alongside Confederacy ships, not against them. They were compromised. She opened a secure channel to Admiral Rodriguez at Earth Defense Command. Sir, implementing Protocol Winter Dawn. Authentication code. Starcross 7 Echo 9. The Admiral's hologram appeared instantly, his expression grim. Confirmed, Commander. Our deep space sensors just detected unusual movement patterns in the Confederacy fleet. What have you learned? Sarah transmitted the decoded files. It's worse than we suspected, sir. This isn't just a power play. They're planning to harvest Earth. They've done it before, to dozens of worlds. The abandoned planets they claimed were lost to natural disasters. All harvested, their populations enslaved. Rodriguez's face hardened as he reviewed the data. My God, how long have they been planning this? Based on these files, since first contact, everything. The technology sharing, the defense treaties, the cultural exchange programs. It was all to assess our capabilities and weaken our independent defensive positions. Sarah's voice remained professional, but anger simmered beneath the surface. What's our window? 3 days before their fleet arrives. But sir, Sarah hesitated. There's something else. Project Echo. The Admiral's eyebrow raised. The experimental defense platform. It's not just a defense platform. We integrated it with their technology, yes, but we also added some innovations of our own. Innovations we kept off the official records. A slight smile crossed Sarah's face. Let's just say some of us had trust issues from the beginning. Understanding dawned in Rodriguez's eyes. You've been preparing for this. A contingency, sir. One I hoped we'd never need. But Project Echo isn't just a shield. It's a sword. And they don't know it exists. The Admiral nodded slowly. Initiate full planetary defense protocols. I'll inform the Council. Commander. He paused. About your source in the inner circle. Ambassador Kuvarn. Sarah confirmed. He's been feeding us information for months. He disagrees with the Confederacy's methods, but he's just one voice among many. He's risking everything by helping us. Can he get out? Sarah shook her head. He's choosing to stay in place. Says he can do more good there, feeding us intel. Sir, we need to move fast. The Confederacy thinks we're blind and defenseless. That's our only advantage. Agreed. Implement Echo Protocol. Full authority granted. And Commander. Rodriguez's hologram flickered. Make them regret ever thinking humanity would be an easy target. As the transmission ended, Sarah turned back to the nebula. Somewhere out there, a fleet was coming to destroy everything she had sworn to protect. But humanity had survived ice ages, plagues, and their own near destruction. They had clawed their way to the stars through sheer determination and ingenuity. The Confederacy thought they had spent the last decade studying humanity's weaknesses. Instead, they had given humanity time to prepare, to innovate, to build. Sarah opened a channel to Project Echo's hidden facility beneath Europa's ice. "Begin final preparations," she commanded, "and send word to our friends in the Resistance. It's time to show the Confederacy why you should never, ever corner a human." The response came back immediately. "Echo platform standing by. All systems operational. Awaiting your command." Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. The Confederacy was about to learn a harsh lesson about humanity. They weren't just fighting for survival now. They were fighting for justice. For every world the Confederacy had harvested, for every species they had enslaved. The war for Earth's future would begin in 3 days. But this time, humanity wasn't just ready. They were waiting. The Confederacy's diplomatic fleet dropped out of hyperspace right on schedule. 60 ships strong, their gleaming hulls reflecting the sun's light as they approached Earth's orbit. Admiral Nexus stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Inevitable Destiny, a smug smile playing across his crystalline features. "Send the signal," he commanded. "Inform Earth's defenders that we come in peace for their annual review. Remind them of protocol, all defensive systems powered down for inspection." His communications officer complied, but before the message could reach Earth, something unprecedented happened. The space around Earth began to ripple, like heat waves off hot pavement. Nexus's smile faltered. "Sir," his sensor officer called out, panic in their voice. "We're detecting energy signatures. Everywhere. They're coming from Europa." Beneath Europa's icy surface, Commander Chen stood in Project Echo's control center, her hand hovering over the activation panel. "All Echo platforms synchronized," she announced. "Admiral Rodriguez, we are ready." They thought they knew all our secrets. Rodriguez's voice came through clear and strong. "Show them how wrong they were. Execute Operation Starbreak." Sarah pressed her palm against the panel. Around the solar system, hundreds of carefully hidden platforms activated simultaneously. But these weren't simple defense platforms. They were something entirely new. The Echo network came online, creating overlapping fields of quantum-entangled space. Ships that had been hidden in these pockets of altered space suddenly appeared. Earth's true fleet. Not the outdated vessels the Confederacy had helped them build, but ships of entirely human design, incorporating reverse-engineered Confederacy tech in ways their former allies had never imagined. "Impossible." Nexus snarled as his tactical display lit up with new contacts. "They couldn't have hidden this from us. We had monitors everywhere." "Sir," his science officer interrupted, "these ships, they're using our quantum drive technology. But they've modified it. They're creating localized space-time distortions. Our targeting systems can't compensate." Inside her quantum-shielded command center, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "All Echo fleet vessels, execute attack pattern Delta. Remember your training. Show them what humanity can do when pushed into a corner." The battle that followed would be remembered for centuries. Earth's ships, using their modified quantum drives, seemed to dance through space itself. They appeared and disappeared at will, their weapons striking from impossible angles. The Confederacy fleet, for all its technological superiority, found itself fighting an enemy that simply shouldn't exist. "Echo Squadron Alpha, targeting their flagship," Sarah commanded. "Beta and Gamma, protect the orbital platforms. Delta, begin evacuation coverage of the surface cities, just in case." The human ships moved with perfect coordination, their crews executing maneuvers that the Confederacy had deemed theoretically impossible. Each vessel's quantum drive created micro-distortions in spacetime, allowing them to briefly exist in multiple locations simultaneously. When they fired their weapons, the energy beams curved around Confederacy shields, striking from angles that shouldn't have been possible. Admiral Nexus watched in horror as his fleet was systematically dismantled by an enemy he had gravely underestimated. "How?" he demanded. "How did they achieve this level of advancement without us detecting it?" The answer came in the form of Ambassador Kavarn's voice, broadcasting on all frequencies. "Because, Admiral, while you were studying humanity's weaknesses, they were studying yours. Every piece of technology you shared with them, they took apart, improved, and rebuilt. They didn't just copy your designs, they understood them, evolved them, transformed them into something new. Sarah's voice joined the broadcast. You should have learned from Earth's history, Admiral. Humanity's greatest innovations have always come from being backed into a corner. You gave us access to quantum technology, thinking we could never truly grasp its potential. But you forgot something crucial about humans. We never stop asking, what if? As if to emphasize her point, the echo platforms surrounding Earth began to pulse with energy. The quantum fields they generated started to overlap, creating a cascading effect that spread throughout the solar system. Confederacy ships found their quantum cores going offline, their advanced weapons systems failing. What have you done? Nexus demanded, watching his mighty fleet become helpless. We didn't just reverse engineer your technology, Sarah explained, her voice calm but firm. We transcended it. Every quantum core in your ships is now permanently linked to our echo network. You can either power down and surrender, or watch your ships tear themselves apart at the quantum level. The battle ended not with a bang, but with the quiet hum of dozens of Confederacy ships powering down their systems. Admiral Nexus, his crystalline features clouded with rage and disbelief, had no choice but to surrender. As Sarah watched the Confederacy crews being taken into custody, Admiral Rodriguez's hologram appeared beside her. Well done, Commander. But this is just the beginning. The Confederacy won't take this defeat lightly. Sarah nodded, her expression determined. No, they won't. But thanks to Ambassador Kuvarn, we know there are others out there. Other species who suffered under Confederacy rule. Maybe it's time we reached out to them. Agreed. Rodriguez said, begin preparations for Phase 2. It's time for Operation Alliance of the Forgotten. Deep in the Arcturus sector, aboard the newly christened Earth vessel Defiant, Commander Sarah Chen stood before a diverse gathering of alien representatives. Each had come in secret, risking everything to meet with the humans who had achieved the impossible, defeating the Confederacy invasion fleet. The holographic display behind her showed the Echo Network's reach, spreading through previously unknown quantum corridors. The Confederacy didn't just hurt Earth, she began, her voice carrying to each species' universal translator. They'd been harvesting worlds for centuries, destroying civilizations, enslaving populations. But together, we can stop them. An Exarian diplomat, their crystalline form shimmering with nervous energy, spoke first. Your victory was impressive, Commander, but the Confederacy controls thousands of worlds. They'll regroup, return with an even larger force. That's exactly why we need each other, Sarah responded, bringing up new tactical displays. Each of your species has survived Confederacy oppression through different means. The Nexarians developed stealth technology that even their quantum sensors can't detect. The Velkar mastered biomechanical interfaces that outperform any Confederate AI. The Zin, well, your psychic abilities are still something they deny even exists. Ambassador Kuvarn, now openly working with the human resistance, stepped forward. I've seen humanity's potential firsthand. They don't just adopt technology. They transform it. Imagine what they could do with your innovations, working together instead of separately hiding from Confederate dominion. The room erupted in discussion, different species sharing their histories of resistance and survival. Sarah watched as ancient rivalries and fears began to melt away, replaced by a growing sense of possibility. A Velkar engineer, their tentacles waving with excitement, interfaced with the ship's systems. Your echo network. It's compatible with our neural matrices. We could expand its range exponentially. And our stealth fields, the Nexarian added, if integrated with your quantum drive modifications, we could strike anywhere in Confederate space without detection. Sarah finished, allowing herself a smile. But we're not just building a military alliance. We're creating something new. A true coalition of free species. Over the next several weeks, ships from various resistance movements began arriving at hidden coordinates throughout human space. Each brought unique technologies, tactical knowledge, and most importantly, hope. Earth's shipyards, now augmented with alien expertise, began producing vessels that combined the best of each species' innovations. The Defiant became a testing ground for this technological synthesis. Nexarian stealth systems, merged with human quantum drives, created ships that could literally slit between dimensions. Velkar biomechanical interfaces, enhanced by Zen psychic amplifiers, allowed crews to react at speeds that made Confederate targeting systems useless. But perhaps more remarkable than the technological advancement was the cultural exchange. Species that had been isolated for generations began sharing not just military tactics, but art, music, philosophy. Earth's cities became meeting points for refugees and resistance fighters from across the galaxy, each bringing their own stories of survival and defiance. They never expected this, Kvarn observed one evening, watching teams of humans and aliens working together to retrofit a fleet of ships. The Confederacy's greatest fear was always unity among their victims. They spent centuries keeping us divided, suspicious of each other. Sarah nodded, reviewing reports of successful strikes against Confederate supply lines. The newly formed Alliance fleet, using their combined technologies, had already liberated 3 harvested worlds. Their mistake was thinking that fear was the only thing that could unite people. They never understood the power of hope. The Alliance's influence spread rapidly through Confederate space, aided by an underground network of quantum communicators designed by human engineers and enhanced by Zen psychics. Every liberated world brought new allies, new technologies, new possibilities. But the Confederacy wasn't sitting idle. Reports began coming in of massive fleet movements, of new weapons being developed specifically to counter the Alliance's innovations. The coming battle would determine not just the fate of Earth or the Alliance worlds, but the future of galactic civilization itself. In her quarters aboard the Defiant, Sarah reviewed the latest intelligence reports. The Confederacy was gathering its forces for a massive counterattack, drawing ships from across their territory. They meant to crush this rebellion once and for all. "Good," she muttered, sending out a coded signal to the Alliance fleet. "Let them come. We'll show them what real unity looks like." What had started as Earth's desperate defense had evolved into something far greater, a revolution that would reshape the galaxy. The Alliance of the Forgotten was about to demonstrate that the combined strength of those who fought for freedom would always overcome the power of those who ruled through fear. The Ghost Fleet emerged from quantum space like shadows taking form. 50 ships, each a perfect fusion of Alliance technologies, appeared simultaneously across Confederate territory. Their hulls, enhanced with Nexarian stealth crystals and human quantum matrices, bent light around them in ways that made them seem more like holes in reality than physical vessels. Aboard the fleet's flagship, now rechristened as Phantom, Commander Sarah Chen watched as Operation Shadow Strike began. "All ships, execute attack pattern Omega. Remember your training. We're not just hitting military targets. Every slave world we pass, we liberate. Every harvesting operation we find, we shut down." The Ghost Fleet struck with surgical precision. Confederate outposts would suddenly find their quantum cores overloaded by phantom energy signatures. Harvesting ships would discover their slave populations mysteriously evacuated, their control systems corrupted by Velkar biomechanical viruses. "Status report," Sarah commanded, watching as another Confederate facility went dark. 17 facilities neutralized, her tactical officer, as Zen, whose psychic abilities helped coordinate the fleet's movements, reported. 0 casualties among the civilian population. The Confederate response fleet is still chasing our decoys in the Centauri sector. The Ghost Fleet's greatest weapon wasn't its advanced technology or even its stealth capabilities. It was information. Thanks to Ambassador Kvarn's network of sympathizers within the Confederacy, they knew exactly where to strike to cause maximum disruption with minimal loss of life. "Commander," a Nexarian sensor operator called out, their crystalline form pulsing with urgency. "We're detecting unusual energy signatures from the Confederate capital world. They're powering up something massive." Sarah's eyes narrowed as the tactical display updated. Analysis. "It appears to be some kind of quantum resonance weapon," the Velkar science officer reported, their tentacles interfacing directly with the ship's sensors. "If these readings are correct, they could use it to destabilize our entire quantum network." "They're desperate," Kivarn observed from his advisory position. "The High Council would never risk such a weapon unless they felt truly threatened. Its use could tear apart the very fabric of space-time." Sarah studied the data, her mind racing through possibilities. The Ghost Fleet had been devastating the Confederate infrastructure, but this was an escalation she hadn't anticipated. If they allowed this weapon to be completed, everything they had built could be undone in an instant. "All ships, new priority target," she broadcast to the fleet. "We're hitting the capital. This ends now." The Ghost Fleet converged on the Confederate capital world, their quantum drives working in perfect harmony to create a cascading stealth field that made them virtually undetectable. But as they approached, something changed. Multiple quantum signatures. The tactical officer announced. "They're not just building one weapon. They've created a network of them. The entire system is rigged." Sarah watched as the tactical display filled with new threat indicators. The Confederacy had turned their entire capital system into a trap, willing to risk tearing reality apart to maintain their power. "They're going to activate the network," Kivarn warned. "The resulting quantum cascade will destroy everything in a 50-light-year radius, including most of their own territory." "No," Sarah said firmly. "They won't, because we're going to show them something they've never seen before." She opened a channel to the entire fleet. "All ships, initiate Protocol Omega. Sync your quantum cores with the following modifications." What happened next would be debated by scientists for centuries. The Ghost Fleet, instead of retreating or attacking, began to move in a complex pattern. Each ship's quantum drive pulsed in a precisely calculated sequence, creating a web of intersecting fields that seemed to stabilize the very fabric of space-time. "It's working," the Velkar science officer reported with astonishment. "The quantum resonance, we're containing it, redirecting it back into their own network." Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. The Confederacy thought they could control quantum space itself, but they never understood what we learned from the Echo Project. It's not about control. It's about harmony. The Confederate weapon network, designed to tear reality apart, instead imploded upon itself. Their carefully laid trap became their own undoing, as the Ghost Fleet's quantum web redirected the destructive energy back through their systems. When it was over, the Confederate capital's defenses lay in ruins, their leadership in chaos, but not a single civilian life had been lost. The Ghost Fleet's precision had ensured that. "All ships, begin evacuation procedures," Sarah ordered. "Get those people out of there, and send word to the Alliance. It's time for the final phase." As rescue operations began, Sarah received a transmission from Earth. Admiral Rodriguez's hologram appeared, his expression both proud and concerned. "Impressive work, Commander. But the Confederacy still has substantial forces scattered across the galaxy. They'll regroup, and when they do, Sarah interrupted, they'll face something they've never encountered before. A galaxy united against them. It's time for the dawn of the new era." The final confrontation took place in the heart of Confederate space, where the remnants of their once mighty fleet had gathered for a last stand. But they faced something unprecedented. Not just the combined Alliance fleet, but thousands of ships from every corner of the galaxy. Former slave worlds, liberated colonies, and even defectors from the Confederacy itself had come to witness the end of an era. The Defiant led the assault, its hybrid technologies now refined to perfection. Sarah stood on the bridge, surrounded by a crew that represented a dozen different species working in perfect harmony. The tactical display showed the Confederate fleet, still formidable but surrounded on all sides. "Open a channel," she commanded. all frequencies. When the connection was established, Sarah addressed not just the Confederate fleet, but every ship and world within range. For centuries, the Confederacy maintained power through division and fear. They taught us to distrust each other, to see our differences as weaknesses. Today, we prove them wrong. The Alliance fleet moved as one, their quantum drives synchronized across species and technologies. What followed wasn't just a battle, it was a demonstration of everything the Alliance had become. Ships using combined human-Nexarian stealth technology slipped through Confederate lines. Velkar biomechanical systems, enhanced by Zen's psychic interfaces, allowed for coordination that made their movements seem almost precognitive. But the true power of the Alliance wasn't in its technology. As the battle raged, rescue ships darted between the combat zones, evacuating Confederate crews from disabled vessels. Medical teams of mixed species worked together to save lives on both sides. This wasn't just a military victory. It was a triumph of compassion over cruelty. The Confederate leadership, watching their forces crumble before this unprecedented display of unity, made their final mistake. They attempted to activate a hidden network of quantum destabilizers, planning to tear apart the fabric of space itself, rather than accept defeat. Typical. Kiefarn muttered from his position beside Sarah. Even now, they choose destruction over change. But Sarah smiled. Actually, they'd just given us exactly what we needed. She opened a channel to the fleet. All ships, initiate protocol harmony. The Alliance fleet's quantum drives began to pulse in a complex pattern, creating a web of stabilizing fields throughout the battle space. The Confederate weapons, instead of causing destruction, found their energy absorbed and redirected. In that moment, the fundamental difference between the two sides became clear. While the Confederacy sought to dominate space and time, the Alliance had learned to work with them. The battle ended not with the destruction of the Confederate fleet, but with its surrender. As Alliance ships began rescue and recovery operations, Sarah received a transmission from Earth. Admiral Rodriguez's hologram appeared, but this time he wasn't alone. Representatives from hundreds of worlds stood with him. "Commander Chen," Rodriguez began, "the Alliance Council has made its decision. The new Galactic Charter is ready. We'd be honored if you would help present it to the gathered worlds." Hours later, Sarah stood before the largest gathering of species in known history. The Great Chamber, hastily constructed in neutral space, housed delegates from every world affected by the conflict. Former enemies sat side by side, their differences no longer barriers but sources of strength. "The charter before you," Sarah addressed the assembly, "is not just a peace treaty or a set of rules. It's a promise that we will never again allow fear and division to rule us, that we will face the challenges of the future not as separate species, but as one united galaxy." The charter was built on principles learned through conflict and cooperation. Technology would be shared, not hoarded. Worlds would be protected, not harvested. And most importantly, the unique qualities of each species would be celebrated and preserved. As the delegates began to sign, Sarah felt a gentle touch on her shoulder. Ambassador Kiefarn stood beside her, his eyes reflecting the emotions of the moment. "You humans," he said softly, "you never cease to amaze me. When the Confederacy thought to destroy you, you didn't just survive. You showed us all a better way to live." Sarah watched as former Confederate worlds joined the signing ceremony, their representatives eager to be part of this new beginning. "That's the thing about humanity," she replied. "We're at our best when things seem worst, and we're even better when we work together." The ceremony continued long into the night, but its impact would be felt for generations to come. The age of the Confederacy was over. In its place, a new galactic civilization was being born, one built not on fear and dominance, but on cooperation and hope. As Sarah looked out at the sea of diverse faces, all united in purpose, she remembered the desperate moments when she had first discovered the Confederacy's betrayal. They had thought to find an easy conquest, a simple harvest. Instead, they had sparked a revolution that transformed not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. The stars shone brighter that night, as if they too were celebrating the dawn of a new era. An era where the combined strength of many would always overcome the power of those who sought to rule through fear. The galaxy had learned what humanity had always known, that true power comes not from domination, but from unity, creativity, and the indomitable spirit of those who dare to dream of a better future.